Enough? Want to talk about anything specific, or you feel like we've chewed it over good enough?
I've got the other question, but I don't want to take up other people's...
They don't care.
Yeah.
And if they do, it's their problem.
Okay. So this is probably even a tougher one.
Now that's not a really good setup.
Yes, you're right.
You could say, I'm expecting even greater clarity from this one.
I'm expecting even greater clarity from this one. And so I'm excited to ask this question. Thank you. Thank you for the correction. Yeah, I'm excited for this, to be able to ask you this. So my father's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and my mom is his main caregiver. And it's really come to our attention as siblings more and more that she really suffers from mental illness. And,
well, just stop for a moment. Your father's like the first dog, your mother's like the second. In other words...
I don't know.
Well, how's her mental illness displaying itself?
She's a very mean person.
Yeah, she's chewing on the linoleum. And she's being naughty.
Oh, those dogs. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah. I assigned the wrong parent to the wrong dog. That was that's why I was like, no, okay.
Yeah.
Flipping it over,
yes.
Yes, but she kind of does it to herself. And the problem is siblings, we all kind of worship our father. He's been a really great role model and a really wonderful man. And it's very, very hard to watch her be so mean to him. We don't know what to do, because if we say anything to try to get her to think positively, or to, I've actually bought her The Power of Now twice. She won't read it. I would love to send her YouTube clips on Abraham Hicks, but I know she's very resistant, incredibly resistant, and a lot of stuff just throws her off.
Here's the most important thing that we want to say to you. The conversation that we're having with you here isn't about us telling you something that you can tell to her in order to improve things. What we're going to say to you next is about softening your own resistance so that you'll feel better, because that's all you can ever do. So the tremendous advantage of someone who is finding that detachment, this relationship between your parents didn't just start after his diagnosis. It's been going on that way for a while. And he has found a way of coping with it through a sort of withdrawal and detachment. And so when she is doing what you describe as being mean to him, we want to say, first of all, she's not being mean to him. She just feels mean. She's just frustrated. She's not picking out a target in order to offer her meanness. She's just disconnected, and it's coming out, and anyone who's around. Esther said to Jerry one day, I'm not mad at you, I'm just mad and you're here. It's sort of like that. And so as you step back from your diagnosis of them, and instead just acknowledge that they are where they are, and they're kind of in a situation where they feel bound, where it doesn't feel to either one of them like there's anything that they can do. And so what we want to help you understand is that there isn't anything that you can do. You're not going to teach them anything that's going to change things a lot, but you can find a way of not letting it hurt you so that you stay more in connection as you look at them. And as you're in connection and you look at your father who's found this way of detachment, you're going to feel appreciation for the way that he's found of coping isn't the right word. Adjusting is a better word. Adjusting to what's going on around him. And as you're in that state of compassion, not empathy, because if you empathize with the frustration of your mother, now you'll empathize and you'll either be frustrated or you'll be angry or you'll be blameful, and that's what a lot of your siblings are doing. So what you want to do is not be one who gets down on that level and then fights it out down there. You want to do your best to stay in this place of non-judgment, which is where your inner being stays, in this place of understanding. We know for sure that if your mother or anyone were lying in the street bleeding, that you and your siblings would rush to do anything you could to stop the flow of blood. We know that you would. But when someone is being mean, you don't feel like helping them out, even though they are in as much need of your compassion as if they were bleeding. And what's hurting you the most is that your mother is behaving in a way that causes you to hurt yourself, because you are a born lover. And if there is anyone you want to love, it's your mother, even when her behavior doesn't extract it from you in that way. So you want to find a way of loving. That's why we started to say to you, when you said, I have two topics that aren't related, we started to say they are exactly related. Because usually whatever issues someone wants to chew on are coming from the same point of attraction. So they look like different subjects, but really it's the same thing that you're talking about. And so what that thing is that we're talking about here is that you feel that in the action part of your world that you need to do things or say things in order to control the dogs or control your parents, that you can't figure out any way of doing that, and so no remedy ever comes. And what we want you to hear is that the action world isn't the place to fix anything. It's in the alignment world. It's in your adjustment. It's in your finding resonance with your inner being. It's in you looking at the situation through the eyes of Source. It's in you finding your balance and your alignment and your compassion, your more sustainable love and appreciation for them. And this is going to sound harsh. We're going to say it and then we're going to amend it. We're going to say it and then we're going to take it back just a little bit. But we want to say it before we take it back just a little bit. We don't want it to matter to you how what you do affects them. We don't want you to do this work to make it better for them. And if you mean that, you'll get it, and then it will be better for them. But if you're doing it to make it better for them, then you're scorekeeping, and then you don't do this. Did you hear what we're saying? You can feel better, and you can feel better, and you can feel better. And a lot of people that don't understand this might be looking at you and say, oh, you're just detaching yourself, and you've just got your head in the sand, and you're just not facing reality. And what you want to say, that's right, because reality is taking me into the depths of despair, and I'm not happy there, and I'm not going. I'm not going. And others will call you selfish, but that's just what you have to do.
I need to do it for myself.
You can only do it for yourself. Everybody is doing everything for themselves. Your father is withdrawing for himself. Your mother is mean for herself. Everyone is doing these sort of coping mechanisms. But when you understand the laws of the universe and you understand where your inner being stands and you understand what your inner being is thinking about this, then you can find resonance with your inner being, and then you stand in this loving place where in your looking at your father through the eyes of Source, because of his lack of resistance, because of his detachment, he'll come into alignment with his inner being, and he will have strong conversations of clarity with you. Because in the absence of the resistance that drove him inward, he'll come out. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. He doesn't have that getting in the way of his connection to Source.
Because he won't be responding to the actions. All of you are so psychic, and you read each other all the time. And so when you walk into the room and you feel whatever you feel for your father, he feels what you're feeling. If you feel sorry for him and he's in that place of not being happy where he is, he will feel it. But he's not there. He's in a state of detachment. So when you come into a room and you feel sorry for him, you miss all possibility of communicating with him. Where if you stay in your alignment, now there's no resistance in the way. And you can have a meaningful conversation, even if it's one without many words. You'll just get each other, you see. And oh, how refreshing that would be to him, to feel you there, not upset about where he is. How often you train each other. If you are a really cooperative person where you just stand on your head on as many different ways as you can in order to keep the people around you happy, you're not serving them. You're teaching them not to have to find their own alignment. You're teaching them to be conditional in their love. You're teaching them to just look around, and when they see good things, feel good, and when they see bad things, feel bad. And that's why there can be so much upheaval as national or global news hits the airways, and so many people are watching it and feeling out of control in their own experience. But when you're stable in your feeling of well-being, we would far rather, and this is going to sound odd to all of you, especially to you, we like it that your mother doesn't try to behave, because that certainly wouldn't serve you. Because if she'd behave, you wouldn't have any reason to find your alignment with your inner being. You could just watch her behave and use that as your resource. You see what we're getting at? Parents who have children or people who have dogs, that one behaves one way and one behaves the other way, you say, oh, if you would behave like that, then my world would feel so much better. And what we want to speak on behalf of the misbehaving one is yes. And you would have no reason ever to connect with the only thing that will ever really serve you. Just walk around your whole life being conditional. And as you move through time, you need more and more and more conditions to line up for you so that you can feel good, which means you're going to be a pretty unhappy person running around. But a person who discovers that the way they feel is not dependent upon what anybody else does is a person that is certain to live happily ever after, you see. And all of you will get there, because when you croak, that's right where you'll go. The contents of your vortex will be yours when you have what you call your death experience and reemerge into non-physical and leave behind all of that resistance. We just don't think you should have to croak to feel so good, you see. We think that you ought to be able to, with just a little bit of understanding and attention, you should be able to easily find the thought that feels better. We know that you have the ability to do it. And if it's a hard subject, get off of it. And then go back to it again and try again. And if it's a hard subject, get off of it. And then go back and try again. And if it's a hard subject, get off of it. Because these things are certain. Your inner being will never stop calling you toward who you really are. Esther has said to us on occasion, Abraham, if you would stop being so damn positive, then my negative emotion wouldn't bother me so much. If you wouldn't always be looking for the bright things in everything, then I could focus on this and not feel this way. And what we want to say to Esther and to all of you is that your inner being is not going to join you in your negativity ever. And so you got to blame your negativity not on your mother or not on the chewing little dog. You've got to accept that your negativity is one simple thing only. You're choosing, by default or deliberately, not to find the thought that your inner being is thinking, not occasionally, not softly, but powerfully right here, right now. Your emotions are your indication of what your inner being thinks about this right now in relationship to what you think about this right now. That's all. That's all. Don't you love knowing that? Sometimes you don't seem as happy about this knowledge as we remember you feeling when you made the decision to come. You got a little conditional in the meantime, but you can get over it. You can get over it. Good enough?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Really good.
Thank
Really
you.
good conversation.